discuss Jesus' funeral. Well now, Rev.Horace, what do you mean when you say the centurion? Heard preachers read it and preach it, this text, for years and years. But now, what do you mean? Why, I'm glad you asked. Let me see if I can break it down to you. Centurion simply means the commanding officer of an ancient Roman century. Now, in order for an army to operate as it ought to, there is a chain of command at the general. You have the general, the major, you have the captain, you have the lieutenant, you have the sergeant, you have the corporal, and you have the private. The soldiers at the crucifixion and their sergeant were terribly frightened by the earthquake. And all that happened, they exclaimed, surely this was God's Son. Now, let us notice, first of all, the A clause in that verse 54. Now, when the centurion and they that were with him watching Jesus, in other words, when the soldiers and their sergeant, first a sergeant is a non-commissioned officer of the 5th grade, ranking above a corporal and below a staff sergeant. And the U.S. Army, generally, any of the non-commissioned officers in the armed forces with sergeant as part of the title of their rank. A police officer ranking next below a captain, a lieutenant. So when the centurion, the soldiers at the crucifixion, and their sergeant were terribly frightened by the earthquake, and all that happened, they exclaimed, surely this was God's Son. And many women who had come down from Galilee with Jesus to care for him were watching from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee. The Hebrew who lived before the life of Jesus looked forward with the greatest of anticipation to the coming of the cross. Those who were living at that time, that Jesus was crucified. Look at the cross. But those of us who are here today are better off than even one of the previous generations. For we are able to look back at the cross. It is the death, burial, and resurrection of him who died upon the cross that has affected with a great impact the whole course of our world and everything of human existence upon the earth. The life of Jesus is all that we can divide into 3 distinct periods. The period of obscurity, the period of popularity, and the period of depression. The period of obscurity in the life of Jesus was the time when he was not known. The time wherein the scriptures do not have any records of his life. The time when Jesus watched the farmer sow his seed and listened to the birds sing. And he does not come back into the realms of our scriptures after his birth in Bethlehem. Until between years later, 18 years later, when Luke records him being in the temple discussing the Lord with scribes and priests. Next was the period of popularity. The time when Jesus was famous throughout Galilee. The time when Jesus was famous in Jerusalem and all over Judea. The time when he healed the sick, raised the dead, and fed the hungry. Next was the period of depression. This was the time of his life wherein he was faced with a bitter cup that enhanced the sins of the world. Mine and your sins were in that cup. And the sins of every generation faced him in the cup. The period of depression was when all his so-called friends left him. Today we are concerned with instances that occurred immediately after this particular period, the time when he was crucified. Now before going further, let us look at the reason why Jesus was crucified. Why is it that the Jews, his own people, why is it rejected him so? Why is it that they would not own him as being the Savior of the world? The reason why is because the Jews had read in the Old Testament scriptures, which had told them that one would come who would free them from the bondage of the Roman yoke. And they were expecting to have a warrior. They were expecting a man to come with a sword in his hand and fight the Jews to victory. And when Jesus was born, claiming that he was Jesus, the Son of God, teaching love, peace, the Jews were not able to accept that. And they were thinking that Jesus was a degrading